Debt to EBITDA is something that's talked about a lot in finance, but not really explained that well and why it's important. It's really important and it's used as a metric, obviously, to calculate how much leverage you have or how much debt you have relative to your cash flow. And EBITDA is commonly used as a proxy for cash flow. Um, but let's get started and walk through the spreadsheet so you can kind of see how it's calculated. It's actually quite easy, obviously, and then how you might use it in a real world example to track where you are on your covenants. So a lot of the time when you get a loan from a bank as a business, there might be covenants, and a lot of the time the banks set a minimum debt to EBITDA or maximum debt to EBITDA ratio. And so we're going to look at that and see how to model that out quite quickly on a spreadsheet. So here we go. So we start with debt. We've got this on a quarterly basis, and we just hard-coded what the debt is, and we've hard-coded what the cash is. And the reason we've done this is so that we can get to something called net debt. And debt minus cash is net debt. So you can see that here. And it basically is just looking at, like, if you have a big cash balance, you could use that cash hypothetically to pay down the debt. And so a lot of the time, banks will either look at debt to EBITDA or net debt to EBITDA or sometimes both. And so we've just calculated that out here. Then what we've done is we've looked at the quarterly EBITDA. So per quarter, in first quarter, for example, of 2024, expecting 8 million of EBITDA. And then that just modeled that out quarter to quarter. Obviously, if this was part of a bigger financial model, it wouldn't be a hard code like it is now. It would be part of a bigger income statements forecast and everything, but I've just hard coded it here so you can kind of see it. Then what you do is we use LTM EBITDA or last 12 months EBITDA as the measurement. So it just basically looks at a trailing 12 months and rolls that forward every quarter. So you can see here for this measure as of fourth quarter 2024, it's first quarter to fourth quarter. And then that rolls forward every quarter and says, so then the next quarter, it would be the second quarter of 2024 to the first quarter of 2025. And you can kind of see how that last 12 months or LTM EBITDA changes over time per quarter. Then it simply is just dividing the debt by that LTM EBITDA. So you can see that here, debt of 110 divided by LTM EBITDA of 26 gets you to a ratio of 4.2 times. So you basically have 4 times the amount of debt that you have on a trailing EBITDA basis. The same calculation can be done using net debt. So instead of the 110, we use the 107 of net debt divided by the LTM EBITDA of 26, gets you to a slightly lower ratio of 4.1 times. And so then we just model that out every quarter, same math, same formula every quarter to kind of see how that multiple is trending. And you can see obviously here with EBITDA declining over this period of time, you can see that obviously and the debt going up, you can see that the debt to EBITDA ratio is steadily increasing as well. So in this period, it increases from 4.2 times to 5.7 times. Then you might have an actual covenant from the bank. So it says you have to keep your debt to EBITDA below 5 times. And if you're below 5 times, it's okay. And if it's not, you're in breach of that covenant, and there are consequences probably with the bank that you have to work out. So here we just basically said, okay, the debt to EBITDA covenant is 5 times. And then in this math down below, we've just compared the actual debt to EBITDA here of 4.2 to the covenant of 5. And so obviously 4.2 is less than 5, so we're okay. And so you can so you can see that math, I used a simple if statement and said if F12, so debt to EBITDA for that quarter, is less than F15, the covenant for that quarter, then you're okay. Otherwise, it's a breach. And that's the same math over here as well. And you can see that it changes from okay in these 3 quarters because the debt to EBITDA is less than the covenant to a breach in these quarters because it's more. Also, what I did here is the conditional formatting. So it's actually quite nice to have conditional formatting on this type of thing, just so that you can really see it just stands out that you are in compliance or you're not in compliance. And so all I did was highlight those cells, and I go to conditional formatting, and I go to highlight cell rules and and equal to. And basically you just punch in OK, and you see how it changed there, because it says if it's equal to OK, then fill it with light red. But you can actually change it to whatever you want. So here, obviously, if it's OK, do a green fill with green text. And luckily, with these sort of things, you can do two different things at the same time. So you go do the same thing, conditional formatting, highlight, equal to, and if you type in breach, you can see how this would change as well. So, if I've changed it there to yellow, you can have it yellow, but here you go, light red with dark red text. So you can see that. And so it's a good way, a very conditional formatting is a great way, especially in these sort of covenant tests, to really quickly illustrate whether there's a breach or not. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. If there's any questions around debt to EBITDA or any of these debt metrics, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.